Chapter 2, Mishnah 4. This Mishnah discusses how vetch that is truma is treated more leniently than vetch that is Maaser Sheni, as mentioned in Mishnah 2. Vetch that is Maaser Sheni must be eaten when its stalks are young and moist. Vetch, like fenugreek, turns hard and inedible as it ripens. Since it is forbidden to cause Maaser Sheni to go to waste, a person must eat vetch before it becomes inedible. Vetch that is truma, though, may be kept until it hardens. The Mishnah discusses two more laws that apply to vetch that is Maaser Sheni. These are matters for which vetch Maaser Sheni is different from other Maaser Sheni produce. And Maaser Sheni vetch may be brought into Jerusalem and then taken out of the city. In contrast, other Maaser Sheni produce may never be taken out of Jerusalem once it is brought in. The next law involves Maaser Sheni that became Tameh. Generally, if Maaser Sheni becomes Tameh, it may be redeemed for money, which takes on sanctity. See Mishnah chapter 3, Mishnah 9. The law is different, though, for vetch that is Maaser Sheni. If Maaser Sheni vetch became Tameh, Rabbi Tarfon says that it may not be redeemed. Rather, it should be divided into small portions, which should be mixed together with larger tahor Maaser Sheni doughs, so that in each dough, the small amount of vetch will be nullified by the larger amount of tahor Maaser Sheni. But the sages say the vetch may be redeemed, just as with any Maaser Sheni that becomes Tameh. The Mishnah now discusses vetch that is truma. As mentioned in the previous Mishnah, a person is generally required to wash his hands before handling truma. There is a dispute whether this requirement applies to vetch, which, like fenugreek, has more lenient laws than ordinary truma. Regarding vetch that is truma, Beis Shammai say, when we soak such vetch or rub it on the skin, we must do so in a state of purity. That is, a person must wash his hands before touching it, just as for ordinary truma. But when we feed the vetch to animals, we may do so in a state of tuma. That is, one does not have to wash his hands first. Although vetch does not have the same stringencies as ordinary teruma, the rabbis decreed that when a person uses it for himself, he may not touch it with unwashed hands, so that people will remember that it is teruma and no non-Kohen will eat it. The Mishnah cites Beis Hillel's opinion, which is based on the principle that food cannot become tameh unless it is first prepared by becoming wet. But Beis Hillel say when we soak vetch, our hands must be tahor, but we may rub vetch on the skin or feed it to an animal in a state of tuma. Only when a person soaks vetch must he wash his hands, because soaking vetch with unwashed hands causes two things at once. It prepares the vetch to become tameh by wetting it, and it makes the vetch tameh by bringing it into contact with unwashed hands. This the sages forbade as a reminder that this vetch is truma. When used in other ways, though, the hands may be unwashed. Another opinion. Shammai say a person may handle vetch with unwashed hands, but vetch should be fed to animals only when it is dry. According to Shammai, a person may not use vetch in a way that is obvious that he is making it tameh. Since produce could become tameh once it is wet, if a person uses wet vetch with unwashed hands, it will be clear that he is making it tameh. This is forbidden. If the vetch is dry, though, it is not obvious that he is making it tameh, and the rabbis did not require him to wash his hands. A final opinion. Rabbi Akiva says anything that is done with vetch may be done when a person is tameh. The rabbis made no decrees requiring a person to wash his hands before handling vetch.